I'm looking forward to this morning, because if those of you that remember our last interview about a year ago, it was one of the most talked about events post-meeting that we've ever had. We had so much fun up here, not because of me, but because of the genius of this man, where he comes from, what he stands for, and just the way that he thinks about and sees the world around him is not only hilarious, but in my opinion, brilliant. I am so lucky today to be interviewing Larry Patterson, who's been a member of this chapter now for 4 years?
That's about 4
Yeah,
five,
about 4 or
yeah,
5
yeah.
years. What a testament to what hard work and dedication can do for someone who didn't grow up in this country. And we're going to get to that in just a second by way of biographical background information, just to refresh everyone's memory of who Larry is and where he's from. And for those of you who are just getting to know Larry for the first time, I think it's important for you to know a little bit about his background. So, Trinidad and Tobago was where you were born and raised.
Yes, sir.
He is the 4th child of 6. He had several jobs growing up, but the last job before moving to the United States was actually working on an oil ship, right?
Platform.
Platform.
Yep, offshore.
Offshore platform.
Yep.
And we'll maybe talk about that briefly. You moved to New York in 2001. Was that before or after September 11th?
Before September 11th.
Before September 11th.
Yeah.
So
April 1st, as a matter of fact. So it was April's Fool Day.
Wow. And then, of course, unfortunately, 5 months later, we had the devastating effects and tragedy of 9/11. But when you first moved here, you got involved in the moving business?
By accident. I couldn't find work.
Yeah, okay.
So a neighbor who was in that business told me about just call moving companies in the yellow pages. At the time, the internet really wasn't popping, and that's what I did. You know, so yeah.
And in 2016, you decided, to heck with working for a moving company.
Yep.
I should own the moving company.
Yep, I was playing around that idea for a minute, and I bought Rainbow Movers June 6, 2016.
That is awesome. And here we are 8 years later, and the business continues to thrive and grow, and we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. But you also have a beautiful daughter that you're very proud of.
Yes.
She's now in her teens.
15, going on 25.
Right. And how is that going for Daddy?
Oh, for me, it's great. For her, not so much.
I hope you have some parenting advice for us and the rest of the room that may be approaching those teen years or are dealing with that ourselves. So I have prepared some questions, as I have now tried to do with some of the folks who have been interviewed on several occasions, and surprise them to see how adept they are and how quick on their toes they are to some of these questions that they haven't prepared for. So bear with me just a moment as I pull up those questions. I've given some thought based on the questions that I presented to Larry the last time, and I want to build on some of the things that we already know about Larry, but maybe try to get a little bit more insight into the man behind Rainbow Movers and this wonderful member of our chapter. So with that, I want to ask Larry, who immigrated 22 years ago, 23 years ago, what did the concept of the American dream mean to you growing up, or when you decided to move to the U.S.?
That's a good question. I used to come before to the U.S. for work, to visit my dad and mom who live here, and family and stuff. So it really wasn't strange for me visiting New York, the U.S., as the case may be. I was, at a point in time in my life, I was just tired of doing what I was doing in Trinidad, and I wanted a change. And my sister actually said, just come and figure it out. And that's what I did. And I will say this, in my opinion, there's no other country in the world I could do what I did. You could leave with nothing. I grew up middle class, was working for a lot of money in Trinidad, so it's not like I was destitute and living on the streets and I had to come here to make my life better. But I gave up all of that and I started from scratch at 31, and without changing my career, everything else like that, completely new. I couldn't do this any other country in the world other than the United States of America, you know? So I am a big champion for that, to the point that some of my friends get upset with me when I go back to Trinidad. I never say I'm going home, because I consider here home. This is where my life is, where my family is, so I consider this country my home. Not that the country doesn't have its problems and issues. So for me, I am living, I'm not too sure if it's the American dream. If you want to call it that, you know, I just live in my dream.
Well, that's a great answer.
Live in my dream.
You're living your dream.
Yes.
So you've essentially answered the second question, whether the United States has lived up to its so-called promise to you.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump to the third question, which
Okay.
may present a slightly different answer, or maybe a more challenging answer for you. As a black man and a small business owner, what have been your greatest challenges as it relates to your race?
Wow. Woo. All right. Oh, wow. So I'll give the group the story. I think I told this a couple times to a few people in our one-on-ones. A few years ago, I had an interview for with someone looking to hire, and it wasn't. I didn't think it would have been a good fit, and we could both. I think he sensed it and that kind of stuff. And when he was leaving, a white dude, he said to me, "I didn't want to work for a nigger anyway." So, you know, so it was my second experience of that here in the United States. My first experience was I go to these high-end communities, and at one point I visited someone and they were late, and I had to wait outside of their driveway to get into their house. And in a regular car, I came out just stretching my legs. One of the neighbors saw me waiting in the car there for a minute, and when the customer eventually came in the house, they called the cops because they saw a black man, what they thought was casing the area. So I had to relearn the history, because I came from Trinidad where race is not an issue. That I never saw myself as a black person until coming here. So business-wise, it hasn't really affected me, you know, not that I could tell. No one has never told me, I'm not giving you a job because you're black. So I can't say that. But personally, otherwise, and really getting to know the history and the culture of the country, and after those experiences, it helped me to have a little bit of a different perspective. You know, I know that's a little bit of a heavy answer.
No,
so
it
early
was a heavy question
on a Wednesday morning, but it's outside of that, I can't really say it has had a negative effect on my business. You know, personally, it has a little bit, but it hasn't removed my enthusiasm, my faith, and also in the country and in this room and the people that how I interact with people and that kind of stuff. I'm also not afraid to go into places, and I'm used to it because it happened when I'll be in Texas before when I came up, and I'll be the only black person in the room. And obviously here, I stand out like a sore thumb sometimes. So between my skin color and my accent, you know, I'm a little bit memorable.
So that works for you.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you've had some negative situations as it relates to that, but I'm so proud of the story that you've just shared and what I know of you personally as to how you've been able to deal with whatever's been thrown your way, and it really comes from like an attitude and an approach and your beautiful thought process. So that's wonderful, and I guess, again, we've kind of combined questions here, but what things have you done personally to overcome some of the barriers that maybe others feel? Maybe you've been lucky enough to avoid because you come with such a beautiful attitude and approach that others who are struggling as it relates to that, what would be your advice to them? Or what do you think it is that helps you overcome some of those barriers?
I'm really lucky. I have good people around me. Always really had good, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Cathy Hubbs, who invited me and persuaded me to be a member of this room. I would not have met Kathy if it weren't for my stepmom who introduced me to her. I've always been fortunate to have really good people around me. And humble enough to understand that success is not done individually. It is, you need a little bit of luck. Now, there's an old saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So you basically have to be always prepared for when that opportunity presents itself. And I like to think that I keep myself being prepared for when the opportunity presents itself, you know, and just having good people around me. So I wish I could come up with some sort of sage advice. There are a lot of stuff that has happened in my life that I had no control over.
It's all right. You have time to think about it.
You know,
it's
so
one of the last questions.
good. Yeah. But it really, I've just been lucky. I've been fortunate, you know, to have real good people around me. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So Rainbow Movers is your professional baby.
Yes.
How have you grown the company in your image, or in the image you had hoped for, and what are you still looking to improve upon?
Right. So prior to buying the company in 2016, I had this big vision. I'm going to have this multi-million-dollar company, work real hard, get it done, and everything else like that. And then I made the switch from being an employee to an employer. And it took me about a year to really get that wrapped around even though I had my degree, management training that I did for years and that kind of stuff, you know, the one thing that shocked me is how many taxes we have to pay. You know, it's crazy. So
you need Michael Goldfarb. No. You not have to pay those taxes.
You know, so at one point I had a bigger group of guys working for me, and I realized, and I was doing more work, but I was spending more time dealing with complaints with customers, because I didn't take the time to hire right. I was just hiring to do more work. And I scaled back. I scaled back so I could focus more on quality. Then COVID happened. And what was, for most companies, a good thing, was a boom for my company. And realizing that being a smaller company was better with that personal touch. For a year, I was visiting homes without customers there. They would call me and send their keys and give me the codes to their alarms to go in so I could see their apartments, move people from one place to the other, and they weren't even available. And that brought me a whole different base of customer. And then I realized, okay, this is my sweet spot. This is where I need to be. For me, I love the personal connection of dealing with folks. I love going out, meeting clients, customers. They're new and varied. Every day I could tell you stories, so many. And then being able to find the right guys with my vision. I believe in treating my guys properly, paying a fair wage, dealing with them respectfully. And that has resulted in the people that a lot of you guys have come to your homes, referred to me, to your clients and that kind of stuff. One of the biggest compliments I get, your guys are so nice and pleasant to be around. That is deliberate. Moving is stressful. You don't need people coming to your house that you wonder their characters and if you feel safe. Giving your possession to them, sometimes I have it for a week, months, it just be a day or just a couple of hours. You don't need that. And that's what I try to present, and it permeates all the way through to the guys that I hire. That comes out to your clients, to your friends, to your family, stuff like that.
All right. Wonderful answer.
Yes.
Final 90 seconds here. We're playing fast money.
Go ahead.
You ready?
Yes.
1, what is your strongest quality?
I like people, and I don't like people.
Oh.
So there it is.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I would probably be a little bit more, I like being in the background, so being a little bit more to the forefront, a little bit.
Okay.
Probably that, yeah.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
What has your membership in this chapter meant to you?
Oh, a whole lot. it has challenged me again to be around a group of very diverse and different folks. The group has been great to me business-wise. I can't even make a complaint about that. Patient with me, but sometimes, like summertime, you guys understand I'm busy, I could miss meetings. I haven't been good with guests, but I do a lot of business with people in this group. So it has meant a lot. I get great advice. And I've also created a couple really good friendships from people that you would not think it came from. So yeah, it's a great thing. Yes.
So you kind of started to talk about it. What can you do to be an even bigger contributor than you already are to our community here at Chapter 1?
I mean, I'm the bouncer, I keep all the riffraff. What do you want me to do more than that?
Great answer. All right, three more quick ones. What are your hopes for your daughter's life?
She just be happy. I have a 15-year-old gay kid, and that she just understands life and just be happy. That's it. Life is too short.
I love it.
Enjoy every day. Yep.
What is your favorite movie and why?
Believe it or not, Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. Yeah, he was just killing folks. It was good.
All right, I've given your subconscious brain, some time to figure out and formalize this last one.
Okay.
The words that you live by.
I really want to tell you that I have words that I live by, but I believe in treating people with respect. It's as simple as that, and kindness, and the rest kind of like takes care of itself. One of my best saying is, we are all friends until we meet. Because we have a tendency to fuck that up when we meet. All right?
Well, you're not fucking anything else. You're off the hot seat. You're a pleasure.
Yo! I didn't sweat! I didn't need it!